Thank you. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Carroll County Commissioners meeting for Thursday, March 26, 2026. If you would, please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance with us. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have the roll call, please.
Commissioner Leggett,
Here.
Commissioner Workner,
Here.
Commissioner Madransky.
Here. Certification by the clerk.
I, April D. Maley, Assistant Clerk 1, certify that the entire recording of the proceedings at the prior meetings are captured completely and accurately in the electronic record and are available at the office.
Thank you. Entertain a motion to approve the summary recording of the previous minutes.
Move to approve. I'll second it.
Any discussion on those? First and second, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. And a motion to approve the appropriations.
So moved. Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Bills today total $51,418.76. Can I have a motion for the bills?
Move to pay as presented. I'll second it.
First and second, any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Need approval for bills without prior authorization.
So moved. Now second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. And a motion to reappoint Nisa Randall to the Carroll County Library Board for the remainder of a 4-year term retroactive to March 20th, 2026 through December 31st, 2029.
Move to approve the appointment. Second it.
Any discussion?
None.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Motion to appoint Angela Pavlik to the Eastern Ohio Child Abuse and Child Neglect Regional Prevention Council for a term of 2 years retroactive to March 27th, 2026 through March 27th, 2028.
Move to approve. I'll second.
I'll make a comment. It's not retroactive. It's just March 27, 26 through March 27, 28. Other discussion, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Motion to reappoint Christopher R. Madransky to the Harkness Board with April D. Maley as his alternate for a term of 2 years from June 24, 2026 through June 30th, 2028.
Move to approve. Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Motion to reappoint Karina Gormley as the Public Sector Representative to the Harkness Governing Board for a 4-year term effective June 24, 2026 through June 30th, 2030.
So moved. Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Motion to send County Commissioners Association of Ohio Workers' Compensation Group retrospective rating plan agreement to the prosecutor for his review for form and function.
Move to approve. Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Motion to approve permits for the use of following county highway right of ways as recommended by Brian J. Wise, Carroll County Engineer. We have one for Sam Moore for a driveway in Loudon Township on Branch Road, County Road 35.
Move to approve. I'll second.
Any discussion?
None.
In favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. A motion to accept bids up to and opened at 9 a.m. on April 20th, 2026 in the office of the Carroll County Engineer located at 200 Kensington Road, Northeast Carrollton, Ohio for the Carroll County 2026 resurfacing project known as H-1-2026.
Move to approve the bid notice. I'll second that.
Any questions?
None.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Motion to adopt resolution 2026-17, authorizing the board president to apply for, accept, and enter into cooperative agreement for design of the lift station replacement and upgrades project between the Carroll County and the Ohio Water Development Authority and declaring it an emergency.
Move to approve. I'll second.
First, second, any discussion?
And the nature of the emergency is exactly?
Wastewater. Correcting the wastewater issues at Malvern. No other discussion? Need a roll call vote?
Commissioner Leggett,
Yes.
Commissioner Workner,
Yes.
Commissioner Drensky.
Yes. Resolution 2026-17 has been adopted. At this time, we have our friends from Muskingum Waterside Conservancy District, Greg Butler and Ethan Zuko. Morning. Thanks for joining us. You guys have the floor.
Thank you. We approached the 2026 recreation season. We thought we would stop in and just touch base and see, give you a few updates from 2025 and a few fun updates for what's going to happen in the region in 2026, and then also just see if there's things that we can do to help you as well. So we like Ethan, and over the last couple of years, we've been out trying to make sure that we stay connected to the regional folks. We do a lot of grant activities back into the region, do a lot of development activities. Started a couple of years ago after this early spring floods in 2024, which then turned into the drought of 2024. We were identifying some areas that we needed to work with the Army Corps of Engineers and others to get in and make sure that we mitigate some flooding. We do big flooding of the big dams really well, and the dams are in really good shape. But we know when we have significant flooding, there are areas that cause concern for EMS access and elsewhere. And so we held some regional flooding meetings, had a lot of state and local EMA, EMS officials, and we know a lot of folks attended from Carroll County too. Last year, we continued that effort and broadened it a little bit, and Ethan set up 10 regional engagement meetings we did across the region. And we brought our whole team in just to give an update on everything from engineering to marketing communication. So we're doing a little different this year. We're going diving a little deeper, going local, and we're visiting every county, all 18 counties, just to come in and do an update, make sure that we're tracking with issues that are locally in the region, see if we can help, and also give you an update. So thanks for the opportunity today. I have a few issues that we'll run through just from an overview in 2025. We'd say we met all of our expectations, but it also was a very odd year. So it was, as you remember last year, this time it was cold and it was wet, and people don't generally come to camp when it's cold and wet. So we track our revenues on a monthly basis, and we start making adjustments as we start looking into the second quarter based on our budgets that we'd approved the previous year. If we're tracking well on what our expectations were or not. Just like you do, you watch the budget closely, and if you need to make some adjustments, it's far less painful to do it early than it is at the end of the year. We were about ready to do that, and then it started to warm up, and we had a pretty decent summer, although we were still behind because it was then really hot. Fall was really good. So we met just long story short, we met our budget expectations and exceeded those by about $2 million in terms of revenue across the district. And so that was a positive. Annual budget is about $25.5 million. About 15 of that is from the recreation engagement, whether it's activities, but mostly camping. And so we were thankful. We were ready to postpone some projects just to make sure we could report to the board that we were financially hitting our targets, but we ultimately came out on the positive side of that. So programmatically, oil and gas for us still is a strong issue, even though we see the play moving south more, chasing kind of the oil and liquids window based on price, as well as you see like down around Piedmont, we have acreage there, even though we're continuing to lease some acreage with EOG after the sale with Encino around the Leesville area and Atwood. But the large acreage remainings for us after Tappan will be at Piedmont. And that was really dependent on the state moving forward on the state lands leasing program. And they seem to have broken free a little bit on that. We'll see if that continues to move forward. But our oil and gas program is still strong, generates a significant amount of revenue for us, somewhere in the $40 to $50 million a year range, which I'll just remind you that we don't use for operations of the district. So that $25 million budget that we operate under comes from a series of revenues, mostly recreation. We do lease ground for agriculture. We do have a sustainable forestry program with our 60,000 acres of forest that we own. And a few other stray cats and dogs of revenue, but those are what we use for budgeting practices to make sure that we're continuing to maintain. The concern has always been of using oil and gas revenues for operations is that someday that money will go away. And we can't be dependent on that for sustainable operations. We're 93 years old this year, and we want to make it to 193. One of our significant objectives was to make sure that we build a long-term revenue cushion for the district. So when we use our oil and gas dollars, and we'll talk about projects here in a minute, but you're familiar just generally, we're doing a lot of improvements throughout the parks and doing grants programs throughout the district. That is largely oil and gas revenue. But to make sure that we continue to be fiscally solvent for the long term, we needed to build a cushion, if you will. So we funded all of our maintenance programs, all of our deferred maintenance programs, all of those things going forward. But we decided we needed to build an endowment to fund the district in perpetuity. We asked the Attorney General, since we're a municipal government, just like Carrollton is and you are, by statute, could we set up a private endowment? So that would allow us to invest our money a little more strategically than just as a municipal government can, only buy government paper, basically. And the answer was maybe. And so we didn't want to set that up structurally on a maybe. And so we talked about what we could do. And we ultimately needed to make a change in our statute, the section of government that created us, that would allow us to create a private endowment. Long story short, a lot of work by Ethan. We were able to do that. We met with the then Speaker Huffman in the Senate. And he said, if you can get the Attorney General, the Auditor, the Treasurer, and the Governor to all agree to that, he said, I'll get it done. And stars aligned. We got them to believe we could do it. The Governor signed the bill. So we created a private endowment. And we've actually started to fund that as of last year. It's got an independent financial investment group. It's got an independent board, and it's largely to fund our organization, but not exclusively to that. And so we're excited about that. That's like, probably the most important thing we have done is to make sure that we never are as poor as we used to be. And you know how poor we used to be before oil and gas. So that was a big deal for us to work through the administrative process to get that done. Anything to add on that?
No.
Okay. I'd say legislatively staying in that front, we're working on a bill, an independent bill that was introduced by Representative Ty Moore for us in the House. It's called House Bill 603. It's a kind of a in the weeds kind of bill, but so we are building one of our new projects that was just approved by the board is to build a series of tree houses, elevated platform houses at Atwood, in between Boaters Beach and our cabins. That nice peninsula that sticks, little peninsula across from the big one that sticks out. We're going to put the roads in, water, sewer, infrastructure to build. Start with 5 elevated platform houses that'll be anywhere from close to the ground to 70 feet off the water. And so we're starting construction. There's already a couple of Facebook posts out there already about, hey, why are they cutting the trees? That's why we're cutting the trees to get in and start building those. We'll be ready to offer those for people in the spring of next year.
So you gave 2 numbers there, 3 and 5.
Which one?
Which one is it?
3 and 5.
You gave 2 different numbers.
So the amount of tree houses that we will build within the first phase will be 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is an ability to expand on that, but we'll kind of navigate that at a later time. But initial 5, so those are, as Craig mentioned, near the amphitheater. So that is actually on the Carroll County side. So again, that would split. So it is in Carroll County, despite being across the lake from.
Yeah.
the main peninsula.
And we had a bid estimate of 7.7 million and came back at 7.3. So we were very happy about that. The board approved that project at our board meeting last Friday. So
Now it's official.
we're already started. Yeah.
That,
We're underway.
you're saying, well, some of them could be 70 foot in the air?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Given the slope, so they'll be ground level at the back, but as they cantilever themselves out not over the lake, but right to the edge of the lake. They could be the tower, there's a tower unit that sits in the middle. It'll be close to 70 feet off the ground.
Rather dramatic.
Yeah. Yeah, it will be. And
Each one will have a view shed of the lake, so that's,
Yeah.
lakefront view.
we worked with a specific company specific to building, they call them tree houses. They're really elevated platform houses built on, steel. So they're really sturdy and they're not drilling into the trees kind of thing. But when you're up there and looking at it, it'll feel like you're in the trees. It's really
How big is the tree house? Like.
Yeah, so they're about 600 to 800 square feet, two and four person. Really high end design and fireplaces, decks that come out, hot tubs, saunas, all that good stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a new avenue for us. And I mentioned, go back to the bill that we're trying to get passed is something about indemnification. So like you, we can't sign a contract that has an open indemnification, unlimited indemnification clause in it. And 90+% of the time when we have that from a contractor, we're able to basically transfer language that says, you worry about your liability and we'll worry about ours. And that's a done deal. When we talk, we need to, for these tree houses and for our high-end cabins that we have at Pleasant Hill and others that we're going to build, for them to, our business model to work, we need to get them listed on like Airbnb and Verbo. Right now, we only list those units on our website. And so if somebody's coming from pick your state and they're looking to go see somebody and pick your location close, they're not going to know they're there. When we talk with those national leasing organizations, they don't really care about that limitation. They say, here's our language, take it or leave it.
Mm-hmm.
And so my request back to our legal team was, okay, so what if we just sign it? They're like, well, you're personally liable. Okay, we won't do that. So we've drafted a bill that is very close to what the county governments have. So it says if you sign it, even if that clause is in there, it's void. So we're basically asking to have that coverage as well if we can't get the change made in the contract, which would allow us then to place these on the national scene for people to see them. And so we've introduced the bill. We did sponsor testimony. I think it has a really, really good chance. We've got it in that. Representative Blaisdell is in her committee, in the Natural Resource Committee, and it's sailing smoothly through there. She's very supportive, and we appreciate her interest as well. That's good. Couple of quick things. So we've talked about the development at the Pines and the Peninsula, on the yacht club side of the house. We're moving really quickly on the Pines project. If you've been down the road there, you see we've cleared the pine off that piece of property. There's going to be 18 lots, individual cottage site lots, 2 entrances, 9 on either side of the swale, we call it, that will develop into an amenity that goes down to the beach and have cluster docks. And so our typical method historically is if we had a lot and you wanted to build on it and you wanted to lease that, you could just come first come and first serve. But we haven't had lots available for 25 years. If you wanted one, you had to go buy somebody else's cottage. And so we have a lot of interest in these. We've signed a contract with Kaufman, and they're going to do an auction for us in early or mid-July for people to have an opportunity to lease one of these 18 lots. They are different than our typical cottage lot. They're larger. So they're anywhere from 1/3 of an acre to over 1.1 acres. And so they've got environmental design, manage the stormwater through green infrastructure. They will look different, the lots. And the only other restriction that we put on the individual homes that people will build, in addition to what we currently have on colors and setbacks on the lot is a height restriction, so that there's basically there's 9 in the front and 9 in the back. We didn't want the 9 in the front to build and block the view of the 9 in the back, so we put a height building restriction on at 35 feet. And so that auction will happen in July. They'll have, the winners of those auctions can then sign a lease with us for those lots. And then as typical, they would have up to 5 years to build on that particular lot. So that's exciting. It's the first time we've had new lots in 40 years, maybe. The Peninsula project is still under design, and we had talked to you about potentially how we put the infrastructure in there. We are signing an agreement here soon with Atwood Water and Atwood Regional Water and Sewer. We're going to provide water to the Pines project and the Peninsula project along with sewer. They are then going to own that infrastructure once we put it in. And so we're also working on all of the landowners, cottage site lessees, yacht club, et cetera, down that piece of highway there to be able to provide public water if they would like it there too. So we will do the Peninsula or the Pines project, and then we'll pivot back to the Peninsula, come up with a final design on that, and then certainly be in to talk to you more about that, whether it's potentially a TIF or just keeping you updated on that development. But it's still in our wheelhouse, and we'll have well more than 18 cottage lots in there. We could have, I don't know, we want to make sure they're spaced out and people have room. We could have as many 50 or 60 there with an activity center. We've talked with Smith Ambulance and others about having some EMS capability location like there. So it's coming along, but there's still room for input there. Atwood improvements, I'll mention just specifically. One, we have a Country Waves concert in the fall. We've worked with WTUZ on doing that. It's been pretty small, but successful. We've made the leap this year to say we're going to spend more money to get a better talent, and then also have higher expectations around 5,000 ticket sales instead of 1,500 or so that we've done. So that will be a bigger deal for us. We're still doing the Alive Festival. We've partnered with Alive on our Country Waves concert to have them help us recruit talent. And so they do a really nice job. So we're going to work with them. A lot of work at the beach. The beach itself is going to get redesigned. The snack shop will get all redesigned. The changing house really needs torn down, and so that whole area is going to be under construction and get refinished there. We've got pickleball courts that are under construction now, bocce ball court, little water park as well, splash pads, that kind of thing for the kids. There's going to be a bunch of work that happens on the Carroll County side of that. And then 2 other things I would mention. One, we just brought a new board member on. So Elizabeth Stevenson, if you know her, she was the court administrator at Tuscarawas County Court of Common Pleas for her career, local, and I spent her career with the Stevenson law firm and then with the county court. She was appointed by our Conservancy Court. Jennifer Ponchak resigned as our board member to move to Florida. And so the Conservancy Court met to fill that. They will also meet on June 12th as their regularly scheduled Conservancy Court meeting to do our normal review of financial operations in the annual plan that Ethan is responsible for in the annual report, and also appoint another new board member that will take seat in August. Robert Moorhead from Seneca Lake, retired probate judge, decorated Korean War pilot, is termed off. It's the end of his 10-year term on the board. So we're going to have a change in kind of the complexion of the board coming up. And that's not always a bad thing. Data centers, they're, all the rage these days. We're starting to see some interest. We have water. And they have started looking at areas like in Harrison County. We've had a couple of them approach us, that they may have also approached you about some work in and around the Carrollton area. we've had some discussions with them, very preliminary. I would say from a high level standpoint, the water requirements that they would have would be, well, we will talk to them. I think they're probably more than we could supply to them realistically on a everyday basis for a 40-year period. But we haven't said no, but they're very preliminary. And so we're very cautious about that. You know, we sell water for some few communities, but we also sell it for oil and gas development on a short-term basis. And we're mindful of that. Our primary mission is recreation. We do not want to impact the recreational mission through water sales. Having a 40-year contract at a significant daily rate causes us some concern. And so, but we haven't, like I said, we haven't said no, but we're working on that. I'll stop there and let you add some stuff, and then we're open to questions as well.
I'll add just one more project. So it's not necessarily in our parks or anything like that, but we have partnered with Mayor Harkless and Delroy. So we're gonna have a small launch ramp that we'll be putting in. That was something that kind of came from our meeting last year. We met with her afterwards and she expressed that there would be a desire, just kind of up the backside where the green space is with the little gazebo, our property comes right up against that. And so there's an opportunity for us to come in and thin out the trees, but add some, very few parking spaces and just given, the setup there, but we'll add some parking spaces and we'll add just a general kind of kayak canoe launch ramp there into that back bay. Then would allow folks to paddle their way and enter through under the causeway there to the main lake if should they wish. So we look forward to having that in there, and I know she's excited about it. So if you drive out there, you won't see anything at this moment, but we expect to move on that project here very soon and hopefully have it done so folks can enjoy it this year.
We probably would have started that already, but the storm hit us pretty hard, and we're in massive storm cleanup, mostly at Pleasant Hill, Charles Mill lakes, but we had some other significant damage too. So we're cutting a lot of trees and fixing some buildings. It's some near misses, but we took a few direct hits too. So we're going to have a huge bill for that.
And one final item too is, speaking of that, we've shared with you in the past as things have changed in the camping space. We had a former owner of one of the camps on Leesville approach us about acquiring his buildings and things like that. And so we did purchase that, and that happened back in 2022. So we've offered some services through there and some opportunities. It was a site that got hit, but we're also working through our master plan for that. That's the former Firebird property. It's, we have a gentleman and his wife that do a great job out there offering some overnight accommodations, and they're working on some planning space as to how they can host folks for weddings and other venues. They've had the Cotton Valley and Carrollton, I think softball teams have been out there for some of their retreats and activities. So, but there's about 150 acres there. And so what do we do with that? And so we're stepping through that process now to kind of create that plan and hopefully guide us as to what would work well there.
Yeah, including working with the township. That road, if you've been down that road to the cottage area and then over to Firebird, it's rough. To be kind. We've talked with the township at several years, but recently we've come to an agreement with them that we're going to spend, I don't know, $600,000 or so to do a road improvement all the way down from the top all the way to the cottage area, and then all the way back into Camp Firefly. And so that should be starting soon. It's not going to be paved, but it's going to be, we're going to need to go in and rebuild the base on a lot of it, crush gravel, chip and seal, but it will be 100% better when we get it done.
So that's just off of Dublin Road, backside. And the township has done a great job of trying to maintain it to their, to the parameters that they can. There's a certain point where, we can help as well. So it's a good opportunity, and especially one of the cottages, then there's private homes off of that road. And then ultimately for the far end, it dead ends to, what was Firebird, now we're calling Firefly, just rebrand a little bit there. But it'll dead end there. So it'll be Really nice.
Everybody seems to be pretty happy about that, right? Although ironic, we got a call the other day from one of the private homeowners down there that was mad that we were actually improving the road. And, you know, which, okay, I get it. They didn't want, they didn't want it. They said, we live out here and we don't mind the road, and I get it, but we're gonna need to make some improvements in it, mainly for drainage, if anything else, so. That's all we have. We're happy to, if you have questions, we'd love to entertain them.
So I have a couple of questions. You guys have certainly done a lot of infrastructure upgrades, and one of which was the walking trail at Cemetery Bay. And went through and paved that. And I know originally there was discussions about bringing that trail all the way to Delroy. Is that still on the books that are planning to, or what's the outlook for that look like?
Looking positive. So our design there is to have a trail that connects all the way around the lake.
Right.
And we have that design, and we know where the routing is gonna go. Our first new section of trail is on the dam side of the lake that will connect from the current trail at the cottage site, which is sorry, right in the park.
First one down the hill.
Oh.
It's gonna cut up over the hill and go over to the playground it's just over a mile for the playground that the Army Corps owns by the dam, across the dam. And then we've got the design that goes up the hill and starts coming around. But we do have the design that brings it down around 9 and then through Delroy. So it's just gonna be incremental.
Is there a plan to do something with what we used to call like the old semi pull off that now has been kind of closed in? It looks kind of not very aesthetically pleasing.
Right at Delroy.
Yeah,
We did a bunch of work in there recently. I haven't been out to see it recently. Maybe it's all been torn up again. I don't know, but we wanted to eliminate it as a truck pull off
right.
and put almost like a parking area in there so you could have access to the lake. So I don't know what that looks like now, but we'll take a look at it.
Okay.
Sure. And that might be another place that people are gonna access the lake with a new
Right.
ramp that we're gonna put in. They could have access there too.
Well, it's sort of become a catch-all
Yeah.
Yeah.
at this point in time. There's no telling what you'll see or find in there.
Yeah, maybe we need to revisit it again. Our design was to at least keep some access to it for access to the lake, not close it off completely, but to keep it from, the trash that you get when it's just open for truck traffic, et cetera. So we get it. We'll take a look.
Back to the trail item real quickly. So last year we did unveil our trails master plan, which is adding about 300 miles of trails over the next few decades. Not just Atwood, but throughout the district. And so that's really positive, and that we've hit the ground running with that. But some of the major, some of it is trying to, there'll be some work to it and still navigating some spaces, but that'll be great. So the Atwood segments that we've talked on and a few others will be much part of that.
I know, because I was at the meeting for last year, the FFA Camp Muskingum issues with their road going down in there, which is a township road. They were working on trying to find improvements for that. I didn't know if they had reached out to you, if you guys were part of that yet.
They have not. Yeah.
Okay, I'll get with Todd Davis, and
I know it's a rough ride.
it's rough and it's narrow, and they're looking for at minimum, they had ODOT there, and they're looking at minimum like some pull offs. So if traffic's coming, there's a safe place to pull off. But
And Todd knows as well.
sure.
I think he shared with us at some point he was, looking to retire, but I don't know Todd. Todd's very invested. So how much is he going?
Yeah, he's retired, but he's still there.
Right, exactly. His dad was the same way. John serves on our foundation board, and even though they're retired, they're still, their life and their blood and their sweat and tears are in the camp. So we certainly understand. But feel free to poke them and tell them to reach out, or we'll vice versa. We'll do the same.
I'll do.
See if we can see if we can help out.
That's all for me. Gentlemen have questions?
Yeah, I had a couple. So With your recent improvement finances, where are we at with the assessments? And where do they sit?
So the first assessment, if you recall, was $12. And I'll back up and just remind you, the assessment dollars go into a restricted fund for maintenance of the shoreline and the dam. To pay, we are what they call in government speak a non-cost
Cost share partner. Cost share?
Non-cost federal share part. Anyway, the Army Corps bills us about for 25 to 27% of the cost of maintaining the dam. And when the origin of the assessment is, while we've always had the ability to do it, we never used that until like 2005. That was after Katrina, a hurricane, and the national reassessment of dams. And then the Army came to the Conservancy and said, we have hundreds of millions of dollars plus worth of work that needs done on the dams. Either tying them back into the surface, raising them because of higher flood level damage, et cetera. And if you recall, that was pre-oil and gas days, and we had no money. And so we had to use that assessment authority. It was $12 on a parcel. It generates roughly $1 million per dollar, if you will. So there's close to 900,000 parcels in the district. Not probably in 2000, I can't remember the date. It was 2015 or so. The assessment was cut to $6. And then when I came, we recently cut it a few years ago to $2, which is the state minimum for an assessment in the statute. So it's $2. Generates about little less than $2 million. We spend, backfill that and spend somewhere between $6 and $10 million on dam improvements, shoreline work, conservation work that's all eligible from that fund a year. So we do use our oil and gas money to defer having to ask the public for an assessment.
So, the Muskegon watershed's core mission, it seems like there's a renewed emphasis on recreation, but it is still flood control and water management.
Yeah, always has. Three-legged stool, flood mitigation, recreation, conservation. And flood mitigation has always been, big flooding. And we're starting to look at areas that we call small flooding, where there's pinch points and flooding and significant events. So we've got a project this year to identify what we think are 5 high priority areas that when they flood would restrict access for emergency services. And then bring together the state and local folks and say, how do we put a plan together to fix those? So we have some at Piedmont, we call it Reynolds Road Boat Launch. There's a housing development up behind that area that it gets completely cut off. We know there are a few near Coshocton.
We've got them here in this county.
Well, we need to identify those. So that's one of the things that we wanted to do today, is to say, we'll be in touch with you and you can help us identify where those are and see if we're going to do 5 projects out of the gate, but we'll continue to identify those as we go forward.
I do know there's one at Barnhouse Allotment, that is totally shut off if it floods bad.
Yeah.
Back before, I know the township asked to put an access road up higher around in case that did happen. And I do believe at that time it was denied because we had to take some trees down.
We're happy to revisit any of those you're the local boots on the ground. You can help us figure out where those are. If we can do either change in elevation or an access road, different direction, come at it from a different way. I'll figure out how we can mitigate that. We think that's well worth talking.
Do you guys have any dredging going on or any projects in the future for dredging?
We do most of our dredging in the winter when the lakes are down, and we've done big dredging, Tappan and Seneca. That's super expensive. And so we're basically transitioning now into we call recreational and access dredging, like around the private boat docks that we have a lot of requests for, or our boat launches and boat ramps. And so we're just completing some campaigns down at Tappan and Seneca this year. So we've got, for shoreline projects and dredging work, we have an assessment that we did system wide. We've got like 600 areas that we're working our way through.
And we do some small scale, so I think in the past year or so, we've done some outlet as well, so. Historically, the dams were meant to silt, or the reservoirs were meant to silt in. And kind of as that recreation mission has increased and folks wanted access, but over time, as flooding has gotten, to some degree more intense. That's where dredging comes in, so Craig mentioned, we've done the large scale to make sure that there's capacity. So we keep an eye on those numbers as well, but there was a historical piece and we kind of put a halt on that, and that happened before our time. That was recognized several decades ago. That is a transition that we look at and try to prioritize each year.
Dredging plus billy pads. We bought a new piece of equipment this year that's a harvester that we were using last year through a company that was doing work for us at Piedmont, where it'll come in and cut those off. And sometimes the bass guys don't like that, but in terms of getting access into the boat launches and boat ramps, it makes a big deal. So we've invested in that equipment so we can take it to the lakes and use it. Dredging wise, in Delroy, the back bay there where we're putting the kayak launch, that gets a lot of silt, but plus it also has a heavy load of billy pads and other invasive in there. We've had some requests to come in and do some dredging in there, but oddly enough, the private property there extends well out into that bay. And so then we're prohibited from coming in and doing that just because of the way the property lines were laid out. And we're not sure why that's the case, but literally the private property extends out into the middle of the lake there. So that's kept us from being able to do that.
So I had one last question for you from my perspective. During the storms, our emergency management agency ran into complainants that had complained about trees that were identified as hazardous, and that they had asked for permission to take these trees down and were denied. And then those trees came down and caused the very damage that they had suspected might happen. How do property owners approach the watershed about these trees that look like they could become a problem?
Maybe, I've not heard that. We often hear the reverse. So in the Pines Area 1, we call it, and Pines Area 2, we have the tree removal program, which we asked Davy Tree come in and identify every tree in there and which of those were high, medium, and low hazard trees.
Mhm.
And then last year, we went into Tappan or Pines Area 1, worked with the landowners and said, give us permission and we'll cut all of those high hazard trees on our property and on your lot. If you give us access, we'll pay for it. We'll take them down. And we did that. And then this most recent storm, we had no tree damage in that area. We're scheduled to start in the next area of the Pines. And this year, we're going to do that starting this summer. And so then we've recently, I think that all started because of the straight line wind events that we had several years ago. Those are all in those areas where we planted trees almost 100 years ago. People love to have their house in the pines. Those are huge hazards and they're tons worth of weight. And we recognized it. And we tried to talk with those landowners, cottage site lessees, and they said, do not cut these trees. We don't want the landscape to change. And so we did a lot of work, had meetings at the activity center, brought them all in and said, here's what we want to do. The second group of 25 homes or so in the second phase of the Pines, they approached us over the last month or so saying, we do not want you to cut those pine trees. These high hazard trees, we think you're overblowing this concern, which we disagree with. And so we're going to go ahead and cut our trees. They can choose to join in that and we'll cut those trees at our cost on their property and replant them with native trees or not. The last meeting we had with them, ironically, was Friday, the day of the storm. And there were folks there that were saying, we do not want you to cut those trees. And then they had some really significant damage. Most of them have called back now and said, yes, come cut these trees. It's scary. I mean, we had some really close calls and we had some really significant damage there. And so I understand, and we talk a lot about this. When we go in and cut those trees, it changes. It looks completely different. But we say it's really a generational change. That you're really doing this for your grandkids, to protect the asset. So if there are folks that want us to cut those trees, they just need to call us. Because we're more than happy to work with them to take them down.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Does the media have any questions?
No, not right now.
Certainly appreciate you guys taking time
Yeah.
and coming in and
Thank you for having me.
sharing the updates with us.
Welcome. Appreciate it. Call anytime.
Will do.
Thank you. Sir, pleasure to see you.
Thanks for all this. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner, good to see you as always.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, take care.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to clerk's report. Do we have a clerk's report today?
Yes, I have one thing today. I would just like to advise viewers that the Senior Citizen Friendship Center is looking for volunteers to help seniors with spring cleanup in their yards. Volunteers could be community members, students, athletes, churches, groups, etc. Cleanup would include leaves, sticks, and more. Those interested can call 330-627-7017 to get on a list for cleanup, or if they would like to volunteer in April. This information and more has been shared to the Commissioner's Facebook page. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments for the clerk's report? Hearing none, Commissioner Leggett?
A couple updates. I don't know, 2 years ago, we was able to go out for a grant through the BWC grant. We bought a powered man lift that, don't hear too much about, but, our maintenance crew's taking that to the Dorothy Long Building today. They got some sealing work they need to do on a furnace. So piece of equipment was purchased and it is a big help. Another update is JFS is actually moving the rest of their cubicles this weekend. They will be closed on Monday and reopened on Tuesday in the annex building. Hopefully it goes as smooth as child support did. Child support's moved in. Everything was good to go. So let me see. All the parking pads in the back parking lot at the annex building has been installed, so we're ready for the parking for the employees. So other than that, that's all I got.
Was the window project upstairs completed now?
Window upstairs, I think there were 6 of them. Yeah, they're totally done.
All right. Nothing else then, Commissioner Workner?
I got just a couple things. Tomorrow morning, I got a meeting with the 911 coordinator and the sheriff. And we're going to go over budgetary issues for the proposed move of the PSAP over to the annex building. And then was talking with our emergency management agency director, Tom Cottas, this morning. And it looks like we're in for some heavy weather that'll move through the area. They're looking at wind gusts of up to 54 miles an hour beginning sometime this evening, and a potential for over 2 inches of rain during the time period when this thing starts this evening through tomorrow morning. So we'll want to keep our eyes open and be aware that there could be some unpleasant weather moving our way again.
Seems like we can't catch a break.
It seems like, have you noticed there is a trend for these things to move in every Friday evening?
Yeah, I've noticed you give these updates for the last 3 or 4 Thursdays. Anything else, sir?
Not this time.
All right, at this time, I'd like to request a motion to enter into executive session for ORC 121.22 G1 to consider the compensation of a public employee.
Move to approve?
I'll second it.
First and second, so we need a roll call vote, huh?
Commissioner Leggett?
Yes.
Commissioner Workman?
Yes.
Commissioner Drensky?
Yes, we're now in executive session.
And the first was running this morning.
Evo, are we good to go?
We are, it is 10:08 and we are back online.
10:08, motion to come back from executive session.
Move to approve.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. No action taken. We've got a couple employees that are been with us now for just a hair over 6 months, so their 6-month probation period has come to an end. At this time, I'd like to advise that Merle Long, our Carroll County dog warden, was promoted from interim dog warden to the official dog warden on September 11th, 2025. Hired at a rate of $19 per hour, 6-month probationary period, and an increase of $1 per hour. At this time, I'd ask for a motion to approve that $1 increase for dog warden Merle Long.
Move to approve.
Second.
First and second, and that brings his total to $20 per hour. Now, I'll have to check because he may have,
He might have got a merit
Cost
increase
of-
of cost of
living
living
at the end of the
beginning. Yeah,
year.
that's true.
so we'll increase it for $1 from whatever his current rate is. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, motion carried. Next, we have Linda Wickline was hired as the Economic Development Regional Planning Director on, I think it was September 18th. And she was hired in at a rate of $23 per hour. The 6-month probationary period, she's completed that probationary period. Motion to remove the probationary period and give her a $1 per hour raise from her current rate.
Approved.
Second, then discussion.
First and second, discussion?
I think with the dog warden, his work product or lack thereof, I mean, it's readily apparent. He's either doing a good job or he's not. And obviously, he's been doing a good job. I think an economic development director is a whole lot more difficult to pin down what kind of actual progress is being made. So I guess we can look at some of the obvious. I know that when our chief clerk Melissa was running underwater with some of the regional planning issues. And so do we hear good reports of how that's coming?
Yeah, I believe that she has been relieved of most, if not all, of those regional planning duties. Commissioner Leggett, I think you kind of talked about that a little bit too.
Yeah, I definitely have seen a change. I've seen a lot taken off Melissa's plate with the address changes and renaming. I think she's doing a good job. She has relieved Melissa of all that task. And Merle, the dog warden, outstanding. He stepped up to the plate. I think the man's been on call before we got the last new guy for what, Chris?
Over here.
Well over a year, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I think he does a great job.
All right, I guess what I'm trying to say is, in Linda's case, it's easy. Are there bricks stacked on top of one another? That is one gauge of economic development expertise. But it is difficult to get up to speed in that arena.
Yeah, Linda has done everything I've asked her to do. She's done the education work that I've asked her to do. She's continuing to educate herself. It's just that position just takes a while to see actual progress being made as far as businesses relocating, or as you like to call it, bricks being stacked on top of each other.
Now, the only reason I bring this up is, I'm willing to take and, give leeway to allow, the new person to get up to speed. But at some point, we need to begin to see progress, and we're gonna have to determine when that time period is that we need to see some progress. So I'm good for now.
All right. Anything else? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. If there's nothing else before the board, I will make a motion that we adjourn.
Moved.
Have a second?
Yep.
All right, those in favor say aye.